All right, so Derrick Groves is back in custody. Man, listen, they had a prison break in New Orleans where 10 individuals broke out of prison and ran away. And they caught everybody one by one. The last person to get caught is now back in custody. I honestly thought they were never going to catch this dude, but they did. And turns out that as much as a lot of people were supporting him on social media, because a lot of people were like, run, Derrick, run. I was trying to figure out why so many people were supporting him, why so many people were wanting this convicted murderer to get away. There's a story behind Derrick Groves where police brutality took out his relative, his close relative. The person that got killed was killed at 32 years old. Now, I've seen where they've said that that was his grandmother, and I've seen where they said that that was his mother. I'm not sure which one it is. Kim Groves was a 32-year-old mother of three when she was gunned down in the 9th Ward in October of 1994. Derrick is young, so that might have been his grandmother. Specifically, well, that could have been his mom. Specifically, the incident occurred along Alabo Street in the lower 9th Ward. That was considered a hit, and the hit was ordered by a corrupted NOPD officer, Len Davis, who was later convicted of his crimes. Now, I thought he went and killed the officer because that's what the news was on these streets, that he got it back in blood. So people were like, yeah, that's what we need to start doing. When they kill innocent black people, go get it back in blood. So a lot of people were riding for him. Run, Derrick, run. Come to Atlanta, we'll hide you. Come to Miami, we'll hide you. We'll get you off to the island somewhere. Go to Jamaica, go to Cuba, go to Haiti. Well, even yesterday when he was caught, I saw one woman say, damn, baby, I thought you would be in Cuba by now. Why are you still here? Now you going back in prison. I don't think he'll ever be getting out of prison after this. So here's what we know. So when Derrick was 27 years old, Derrick Groves, he was convicted in October of killing 2 people. And his sentence was supposed to bring relief to New Orleans and renewed confidence in law enforcement. He was a slippery one out in these streets. He was really about that shit in real life. He was a terrorist. A lot of people were afraid of him, and he was well known by law enforcement, but they just couldn't get him into custody, couldn't pin him down. So when he was finally caught, they had released a statement saying the days of Derrick Groves bullying and brutalizing his community, those days are over. This is a FBI special agent in charge that said that. So you know when you got the FBI on you, not just your local police, you know you a problem. Well, less than a year later, he later pled guilty to battery of a correctional officer, and then he broke out of jail with 9 other men, and he escaped into the dark New Orleans nights. Y'all seen that infamous video of them running out of the correctional facility, jumping over those steps and disappearing into the darkness. 2 weeks later, Groves and Anton Massey, another inmate with a history of escaping custody, they were still on the run at the time. If y'all remember the videotape that surfaced online showing Anthony Massey declaring his innocence, he was even begging Lil Wayne. He was begging Donald Trump for a pardon. He was begging Lil Wayne. He was like, Lil Wayne, I remember when your mama got married, the little boy that carried the ring at the wedding, the ring bearer, that was me. That got a lot of people attention because they were like, damn, now he got all these tattoos all over his face. Is this what he grew up to be? and you carried the ring at Lil Wayne's mama's wedding, but he was desperate. So he was calling out for help. Now, in that video, Massey had described himself as one of the ones that was let out of the jail where they said I escaped from. So in the video, he was like, we didn't escape, we got help, and we were let out. As far as declaring his innocence, he's going to have to come in and take care of this situation, is what law enforcement said. They basically didn't want to hear anything from him. You know, they were hot on his trail. They hit a couple of houses, which told me that people were telling on him. The first video I saw, I was like, he's a dummy. He's a dummy because, you know, when they build neighborhoods like gated communities or apartment buildings, every single apartment in an apartment complex looks pretty much the same. So it's not hard if you leave your whole background exposed for somebody to say, oh, that's over by Fletcher's. We've been in Fletcher's apartments before. All the apartments look just like that. He in Fletcher's, right? So the minute he did that first video, I thought, yep, they're coming for him. And sure enough, they did hit. But they hit when he had eluded them. He left, they said, about an hour or so before law enforcement got there. So in the next video he did, he kind of like didn't show his background. He got smarter. Well, back to Groves, because Antoine Massey was back in custody in no time, which left Groves for another 5 months on the run. Now here's what we know about Groves. Allegedly a man with a violent past who escaped, and this has drawn a lot of controversial support from a lot of people out in these streets. I'm telling you why they supported him, but then I had to go do some research to find out if it was true. Police killed his grandmama, a corrupted cop, and he grew up to be one of those dudes who decided he was going to take revenge on that same police. So he went back and he killed that police officer, and it was not the case. That's not true. Anybody who's listening to this video, that's not true. You can stop passing around that lie right now. He was out here shooting up innocent people. He was out here flagging and gangbanging out in these streets. So Groves' criminal records date back to 2014, when he was charged for attempted second-degree murder at the age of 17. That was his first jump off with the police. He was eventually found not guilty, according to these court records. And then, last October 2024, he was convicted for the second time in a killing of 2 people at a Mardi Gras Day event back in 2018. They said he just upped the AK-47. He saw his enemies at Mardi Gras. Y'all know what Mardi Gras is like. People drinking, partying out in the streets. I'm sure they out there popping pills, snorting, doing whatever. But it's a festive, fun affair. Throwing beads, showing titties, all that, right? Bar hopping, having fun. And he was out there and he saw his enemies and it was on sight. And he didn't care who was around. He got an AK-47 and he started letting it loose. Sent everybody running everywhere like crazy. So after his initial conviction in 2019, a new law calling for a unanimous verdict forced Groves into a second trial, kind of like what's happening with YNW Melly right now. But if YNW Melly is paying attention to this story right here, this probably will let him or make him lose hope. Because they tried Groves and tried him and tried him and tried him until they found him guilty. I was like, damn, they could have just said guilty from the get-go. You know what I mean? Now, here's how it went. His first trial ended in a initial conviction in 2019, but then a new law came in that said he got convicted, but they needed unanimous vote, meaning all the jurors had to vote guilty or innocent. And since only some of them voted guilty, they got to take him to trial again. So he goes back to trial again. which his second trial ended in a mistrial this time due to one of the jurors finally saying, yeah, I was reading up some social media reports about this case. So they're like, it's too late. We got to scratch it, start all over again. Then he goes to a third trial, and his third trial ended in a deadlock because the jurors could not agree if he was guilty or not. Then went to a fourth trial, which he was finally convicted again later last year after the fourth trial. And the New Orleans Parish District Attorney Office detailed in a news release about this conviction. So they literally gave this man 4 trials. And eventually, it's like, I want you to do your SATs 4 times, and then we'll take the best score and try to send you to college with that one. They were never going to let him go anyways, right? Now, he was determined to be one of the 2 gunmen who opened fire with the AK-47 style assault rifles on what should have been a joyous, festive family gathering Mardi Gras day. Groves was found guilty, and now, listen, this ain't nobody making up nothing on him. They have all kinds of proof that he was out there slinging that iron. Not only that, he was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder in the death of Jamar Robinson and Byron Jackson. And he was also found guilty in 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder because 2 other people got shot that had nothing to do with nothing for shooting 2 other victims. And he was charged. These charges carry a life sentence. So he had a right to run or try to escape because he was facing double life, which means he probably ain't never getting out. Prosecutors actually caught him because just like his generation do, everything must go to social media. So there he was on social media after he did the shooting, and he matched the damn surveillance video footage, face recognition, and he was also in a video on social media admitting to being the one that killed them niggas, he said. He was boasting about it and took credit for the killings in a video on social media. I'm starting to think maybe he is not all wrapped up and right in the head. Not only that, he brought the AK-47 in a social media video, broke it down in the video, put it back together real quick, showed everybody how good he is with his favorite weapon of choice. 3 witnesses who were out there because he did it barefaced. 3 witnesses also identified him in a ID parade, and his co-defendants were all pointed out as the people who were seen firing those AK-47s. Groves routinely used violence to lash out and to silence witnesses or anybody that he labeled as snitch. This is what law enforcement said. So there was no doubt in their minds, anyone involved in this case, that Groves would continue his bloody rampage on these streets of New Orleans if he was not stopped. They went on to say that they hope that a guilty verdict brings a life sentence, and that life sentence will renew the community. Because of delays that were caused by Groves' attorney being suspended from practicing law and the judge in the case recusing herself, that's crazy. The judge in his case took herself off of the case, and his attorney who was representing him got suspended from practicing law. And this is after they tried him at 4 different trials. I'm starting to think something is actually weird about his whole situation. So he was still awaiting sentencing for his convictions, and he was at the New Orleans Justice Center when he actually escaped along with the other 9 people. In April of 2024, before his conviction for the double murder, he was charged with battery of a correctional facility employee He beat the brakes off a correctional officer while he was in custody, and the day after that, he escaped along with 10 other people. So, this brother been on the run for a while, right? Even his aunt Jasmine Groves, she wanted her nephew to turn himself in, and she was hoping that the police would not use deadly force on him to get him back into custody. Well, if they use deadly force on him, he not going back into custody. He going to the morgue, right? Right. But his auntie was out here pleading like, Derrick, please turn yourself in. She told the station that her family does not know where her nephew is at, but they keep on terrorizing their family. Like law enforcement keeps coming, trying to check their houses, follow them around, see if any of them will lead him to them. So the family was like begging for him, wherever you're at, please turn yourself in. This kind of like a law enforcement tactic that they use, right? Highly dangerous individual on the loose. The first thing they think is, damn, it's been months. We can't catch him. Local police can't catch him. Bounty hunters can't catch him. Uh, Fugitive task force can't catch him. He got to be out here somewhere. His family must be hiding him. So they started stalking the family, and the family got scared. The family came to the media. They were actually on WDSU news station begging him, wherever you at, please turn yourself in. Now, this is in New Orleans. She said, for my family, this is like reliving a constant nightmare. Please turn yourself in. Well, they also spoke about the 32-year-old mother that got killed, and she was ordered to be killed by New Orleans Police Department officer Len Davis, who was later convicted as a corrupted police officer. So I don't know if this turned this brother the wrong way, but the people who he was taking his revenge out on was people from his community who warring gang factions, other drug dealers, etc. This time around, many of the social media posts about Groves had come from supporters, some of whom seemed to reference his grandmother's death, so that was his grandmother, at the hands of police officers as a reason why they're extending sympathy to him. The only thing is, it wasn't the police officer that he killed. It wasn't even any police officer that he killed to get back for his grandmother. None of who got shot had anything to do with any of that. So, with the police on his trail hot and with a lot of people supporting him, he was able to get from New Orleans to Atlanta, Georgia, where they found him on October 8th, 2025, yesterday. And he was actually hiding in a house. And whoever was helping him actually built a crawl space in their roof. So he could be out and about, but if he needed to run and hide, so even if they searched the house, they wouldn't find the crawl space. Kind of like if you're transporting drugs, right? And you build a compartment into your car that you gotta like hit the steering wheel 4 times and turn the radio to volume 10, and then boop, it'll pop out. I know it sounds funny, but believe me, it's been done. So they did one of those for him. Well, now law enforcement is saying whoever owns that house and built that crawl space for him was obviously helping him, and they are going to make sure that they get charges pressed against them as well, and they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, says the Atlanta police. They got him in custody now. So now he is just awaiting to be extradited back to Louisiana to face these charges. All 10 have been captured now. And the head of the police department says, let me be very clear. When someone escapes our custody, we will not stop until they are found. For nearly 5 months, law enforcement across multiple states worked tirelessly to bring Groves back into custody. And I want to thank the Atlanta Police Department and the Fulton County Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshals Services and our own OPSO fugitive apprehension team for their relentless pursuit and commitment to public safety. Groves will now face extradition proceedings to return to New Orleans, where he will be booked, and he will face additional charges related to this escape. Our message is simple. I want to give a huge thank you to the men and the women of this department. Yeah. Alongside all that other stuff, they're thanking each other right now. He's finally captured. That crawl space was so good that they kept tear gassing the inside of the house for 3 hours. They even let a canine dog into the house, and the canine dog couldn't reach him, but the canine dog was like barking at that space. So they went digging because they couldn't find him in the house. So it literally took them over 3 hours to get him out of that house, and he was just in that crawl space. Apparently, he took his ass down the street, and he was hanging out on a corner, no disguise, no nothing. And somebody saw him and called the tip line and said, this is where he's at, and he's staying at this house. And then, whoop, in come them people, and he's finally in custody. Well, all's good that ends good, or something like that. Long run, short catch. Leave your comments in the comments section below. I'll catch you on the next video. I'm out. Peace.